It is the dead of night, 200,000 years ago, and you are the softest thing on the plain. You have no claws, no fur worth the name, no antlers, no shell, no venom. Your eyes are sharp by day and nearly blind the moment the sun goes down. And every single night, for hours on end, you lie down on the open ground and switch your mind off completely. Helpless, our closest cousins, the great apes, still climb into the trees every evening and weave a fresh nest above the reach of cats. Somewhere on the long road to becoming human, we came down. We started sleeping on the ground, the one place where the hunting was easiest. On a savanna patrolled by lions, leopards, and packs of hyenas. A sleeping human is, by any honest measure, the easiest meal for miles. So here is the strange part. Most nights, nothing came. Generation after generation lay down in the dark and woke up in the morning light. Why did the predators leave sleeping humans alone? The easy answer is that we were simply too dangerous to touch. But a sleeping human is not dangerous. Asleep, you are not clever. Asleep, you cannot run. Asleep, the spear leaning against the rock might as well be on the moon. In fact, for part of every night, the deepest dreaming sleep, your brainstem actively paralyzes your body, so you cannot act out your dreams. You are not just unconscious, you are briefly frozen. So it wasn't our minds that saved us. It wasn't our weapons. It wasn't our strength. The real answer is quieter than all of those, and it begins with a small skull and two neat holes. Travel to a limestone quarry in South Africa, to a fossil called the Tong child, a youngster of an early human cousin, perhaps 3 years old, who died nearly 2 million years ago. For decades, nobody knew what killed it. Then a careful eye found the answer, punched into the bone, ragged talon marks raked through the eye sockets. The exact signature a crowned eagle leaves when it rips the eyes from a monkey. A bird of prey had carried off one of our small relatives and eaten it in a nest. At another South African cave, Swartkrans, there is a child's skullcap with 2 clean punctures in the top, spaced precisely apart. When researchers measured the gap, it matched, almost tooth for tooth, the lower canines of a leopard found in the very same rock. A leopard had bitten through an early human's head and hauled the body off, most likely up a tree, the way leopards still stash their kills today. For most of our deep history, we were not the hunters of the night, we were the groceries, and the great cats of those deep ages were unlike anything alive now. Saber-toothed hunters like Dinofelis and Homotherium long since vanished from the earth. Against them, being clever bought you very little. One recent study even reassigned that Swartkrans skull from a side-branch cousin to our own genus, Homo, which only sharpens the point. A bigger brain did not make us safe. So what changed? Part of the answer is the oldest comfort we know: fire. Around 1 million years ago, in a cave called Wonderwork, we find ash and scorched bone, some of the earliest fingerprints of a tended fire. By roughly 400,000 years ago, hearths appear so regularly that fire had plainly become a habit rather than a lucky accident. And a fire rewrites the whole equation for a sleeping body. Its light shatters a predator's ambush. Its smell is wrong. Its crackle announces that something here is not afraid of the dark. Big cats, then and now, give a campfire a wide berth. But fire alone doesn't close the case. Fires burn down, coals go gray. Long before we could spark a flame at will, our ancestors were already surviving the night, and on countless nights, in countless places, there was no cave and no fire, just warm bodies on cold ground. Something else was doing the real work. To see it, you have to stop thinking like a person and start thinking like a lion. A predator is not a monster. A predator is an accountant. Every hunt is a gamble with its own life on the table. One bad kick, one horn, one snapped ankle, and a wounded hunter can no longer hunt. And a hunter that cannot hunt is already dead. So a lion is forever running the math. Calories on offer, weighed against the odds of getting hurt collecting them, and a band of sleeping humans is a terrible deal. Brush against one, and the whole camp detonates, bodies up, voices roaring, stones flying, a burning branch swung at your face, a dozen pairs of hands. You might land a meal. You might also catch the injury that ends you. Set beside an antelope that simply bolts. We were never worth the risk. We didn't overpower the predators, we outpriced them. And we made ourselves costlier still in one quiet way. We almost never slept truly alone. In a cluster of people sprawled around a dying fire, someone is always stirring, coughing, turning, half rising from a dream. The old sleep lightly, the young wake easily. To a leopard probing the edge of the dark, there is no clean instant when every human is unconscious at once. The group itself was the alarm. Sleep became something you did in a crowd. And then, late in the story, we did something no other animal has ever done. We made an ally of the enemy's cousin. Somewhere, in the last 15,000 years, and perhaps far longer, a few wolves drifted close to our fires, and the boldest, calmest of them stayed. We fed them our scraps. They lent us their ears, their nose, their wariness, all of it far sharper than our own. Now a creature that could smell a leopard on the wind and wake, the whole camp slept at the edge of the firelight, watching the dark so we didn't have to. We hadn't just gathered into groups. We had hired a sentry that never fully switched off. If you doubt how fine this balance is, watch what happens today when the math tips back. In Tanzania, scientists logged nearly 500 lion attacks on people across about 20 years. More than 2/3 were fatal, the victims were eaten, and the attacks were not evenly spread. They surged in the dark nights just after a full moon, the stretch when the moon rises late and the land goes truly black. In that window, attacks ran 2 to 4 times higher than in the bright half of the month. Same lions, same villages. The only thing that changed was the light. Darkness was the single setting where a human turned cheap again, and the lions knew it to the night. There was something almost eerie buried in the data. The full moon, hanging bright and reassuring overhead, is actually the warning, a sign that nights of total darkness and real danger are only days away. Perhaps we have dreaded the dark of the moon for 100,000 years, not for what it was, but for what it promised was coming. And that is the real answer to why the predators left us alone. Not because we were strong, not because we were fierce. We were soft and slow and blind in the dark, and we stayed that way. We survived the night by becoming a bad bet. Too loud to surprise, too many to rush, too likely to send a hunter home limping. Our safety was never really in our bodies. It was in the fire we kept, and the people sleeping close enough to wake. You still carry it. That small jolt when something cracks outside in the dark. The reason a locked door, a porch light, a dog at the foot of the bed, a partner breathing beside you, lets sleep come easy, while an empty, unfamiliar house does not. Tonight, when you switch off the lamp and feel, just for a heartbeat, that flicker of something watching from the corner of the room, that isn't weakness, that is 2 million years of memory, still doing its job. A body that remembers the eyes in the dark, and still, quietly, listens for someone keeping watch.